Yo, what's up? This your boy Fats, and I'm coming at you with another video. I remember one time in the penitentiary when me and my friend, who I thought was my friend, we end up, falling out, behind some money situations. But people that's come to the penitentiary, not everybody's your friend, when you come in there. Some people's just trying to use you just because you got some type of pool. In this situation, me and my homeboy, we was doing our thing, we was trying to make money, we was selling a bunch of tobacco, we was getting like 100 pouches of tobacco in at a time, through a cereal box. So, boom, I come to the penitentiary, just get in there. So when I get in there, as usual, you got to put all your stuff up, people come up to you and talking to you and all this and all that. So then I go to the back, to use the bathroom. I see some guys, in the bar, 'cause this is where they smoke their cigarettes at, and stuff like that. So they back there smoking, and I go back there, I use the bathroom, wash my hands after I was finished, and they was like, hey, bro, you smoke? I was like, yeah, I smoke. At this time, I was kind of already aware of the penitentiary. I probably been down probably about a year and a half, so I kind of already knew the ropes and everything, so I wasn't afraid to, I kind of knew if the person was kind of flaky the way that they come at you. So I was like, yeah, I get down, So it's like, hey man, go ahead, come over here and get you a couple things. So I went over there, hit it a couple times. So we was talking, boom, 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 boom. He telling me about his cases and stuff. I mean, that's how everybody start the conversation off, telling something about that case so people can get a feel of who you is. So we doing our thing, we talking, boom. So we after a while, when we go to child and stuff like that, we moving, we walking together, we doing this, we doing that, we talking every day. I ain't know that he was, doing what he was doing, at this time, because like I said, I just got there. So we moving, but I see that he's doing this on a regular basis. It's not like, uh, he's doing it and then he's taking a break, I mean, every chance he get, he's back there, smoking. So after a couple of days, or whatever, I'm sitting on the bed, we in the dorm now, So I'm sitting on the bed, it's like a bunch of bunk beds, on this side, and on this side is single cells, single beds. So he come over to my bunk now. He's waking me up, every morning, every time we're going to smoke, he's going to hit the bunk, boom, boom, boom. That means, let's go back here and smoke. So every day we're doing this. So I'm like, dang, I'm thinking, that it's going down. I'm thinking that he's about to do something. So I'm getting my money ready just in case if he try to, come up with some type of flaky stuff or whatever. So, he's like, hey man, what you actually, because like I said, mail call and all that stuff, is very important in the penitentiary. And people watch that stuff, to see how you get mail. They look at the mail list, if you're on the yard, you come back in, they put it on the board, you got mail, you can go get it. So people look at the way that, your mail move too. So, um, we I guess I've been there, probably about a couple of weeks, we on the routine now, going to chow together, smoking together, just working out, walking the track, all the stuff that we doing the pastime, we doing that shit together. So one day he asked me, he was like, hey man, uh you think you could do me a favor? I was like, what, man? He said, if I have somebody send you some money, you think you can, hire your people, you know, send it right back to me, I was like, I can check, and see, I can ask. So, I either wrote or called or whatever. I don't know which one I did, you know. But I got in touch with her, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, she'll do it, you know what I'm saying? Next time that me and him talked, we was back there smoking. Next time we was talk, I was like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? I can have my people, you know what I'm saying, send you this if you send the money, you know what I'm saying? So that's what he did, you know what I'm saying? I gave him the, you know what I'm saying, the little dummy address, you know what I'm saying, that I had, you know, P.O. box, you know, that way, you know what I'm saying, I don't give out my regular address, you know what I'm saying? So I got the P.O. box up, boom. So he sent the first one off, boom, it come, you know what I'm saying? I call or whatever, you know what I'm saying? About 4 days later to see if it hit, it hit. I told her, you know what I'm saying, where to send the money to, you know. So she sent the money, you know what I'm saying, to the people, or the people came and picked it up. It was one of the two, you know, at this time, you know what I'm saying. So he did that the first time. So me and him get into a little pattern of it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? You think, you know, because I'm sitting and bringing it in. I'm like, hey, you think if I put some money together, you know what I'm saying, we can, you know, try to, you know, do this and do that. So he's like, yeah, man, you know. So I got my girl, you know what I'm saying, to give me a couple $100, you know what I'm saying, so that I can get a bunch of tobacco. So now I got to think about how am I gonna get it in, you know what I'm saying, because once he get his in, either I'm gonna have to pay the people, you know what I'm saying, to bring it in, you know, because he was, like I said, he was working in the kitchen at this time, you know what I'm saying, and the lady that bring it in, you know what I'm saying, normally bringing a box of cereal in, and boom. So boom. The cereal came in, you know what I'm saying? He gave the box, you know what I'm saying, to me, you know what I'm saying? At this time, you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, I was a crash dummy, you know what I'm saying? I was holding everything, you know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, he was smoking with me, you know what I'm saying? Breaking bread with me, giving me, you know what I'm saying, pouches, and I, you know, distributed it out to people, you know what I'm saying, to make my money, you know what I'm saying? But most of the time, I was holding all that shit, you know what I'm saying? So, I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? After a while, you know what I'm saying? You hold that stuff, you gotta think about, dang, man, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I've been there getting caught up, you know what I'm saying? Holding somebody else's body stuff. So I think this probably went on for probably about 4 or 5 months. We making money, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, my people bringing it in, we getting it all in. So here, when they give me my stuff, you know what I'm saying, I make mine off the backside, you know what I'm saying? That way I'll send the money back out versus, you know what I'm saying, me having to pay the money up here and I'll get it and get the stuff and then I'll send the money on the back end. So the next thing, you know what I'm saying, one day I was sitting on my bunk, you know, he came in, he was talking to me. He was like, hey man, you know, I got somebody else, you know what I'm saying, that's gonna be sending the money in and doing this and doing that. You know, that way, you know what I'm saying, you ain't got to, you know what I'm saying, rely on me, you know what I'm saying, to do all this and do all that. So I was like, all right, man, you know what I'm saying, go on, do your thing, you know. So boom, he started doing this thing, you know. So I'm thinking to myself, dang, well, how am I going to, you know what I'm saying, start getting stuff in? Now, I ain't getting nothing in no more. Now, he getting everything in. So basically what he did was he cut me off, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't cut me off to where he wasn't fucking with me. He was just cutting me off. I guess he found somebody else, you know, to hold his stuff, you know what I'm saying? And they was doing the same thing that I was doing. He realized, you know what I'm saying, that I had like a little pull when it came to that because I was meeting a lot of good people and you know what I'm saying, a lot of people was actually fucking with me. They rather fuck with me than fuck with him because, you know what I'm saying, he was kind of like a bully dude, you know? So we start doing our thing, you know what I'm saying, separately. So I just start, you know what I'm saying, looking for another supplier. So I'm like, well, dang, who am I going, you know what I'm saying, get to bring my stuff in now, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm looking around, I can't find nobody. So then, like, one day, you know what I'm saying, like I said, you know, it's just certain people that you run into that in the penitentiary that knows people that you don't know. So this guy, you know what I'm saying, he's from my town. He came in, you know, he know me, you know what I'm saying, because we used to hustle on the street. I used to sell it, you know what I'm saying, stuff on the street, you know what I'm saying, when I was hustling before I came to the penitentiary. So We sitting up here talking, you know what I'm saying? He telling me, you know what I'm saying, about everybody, what they doing on the street, you know, people that I knew, people that we was running into and all that. So I was saying to myself, dang man, you know what I'm saying? I was looking to see the people that he was hanging with, and which was the Aaron Brotherhoods. So I was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? You hang with them, you know what I'm saying? He was like, hey, Fats, it ain't nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, something that you know that I do, you know. He said I was like that on the street, you know what I'm saying? Even though, you know, people came to the hood, you know what I'm saying, and bought dope. I mean, they didn't ever buy that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I guess in this town, you know what I'm saying, I guess the white people was on meth, but when you like crack, you know what I'm saying, it's a totally different story. So he was just, me and him was just cool, you know what I'm saying, through the game and stuff like that. So I seen that he was hanging with them. So he was asking me, he's like, man, I heard that, you know what I'm saying, that you had it kind of sold up, you know what I'm saying, selling tobacco and all that stuff up in there. I was like, yeah, I had it sold up, but shit, I ain't really got no connect no more, you know what I'm saying? So he was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? I can see if I can holler some people for you to see if we can get something, you know what I'm saying, working. And I was like, dang, man, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, he just got there, you know what I'm saying? So he moving kind of fast, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, man. But I got to watch him because, like I said, he ain't been there but probably about a couple weeks. So for him to be moving that fast, talking about making plays with me, you know what I'm saying? When I was spending a lot of money and stuff like that, making a lot of money, had me kind of iffy, you know what I'm saying? So one day, you know what I'm saying, I come to the yard, you know what I'm saying? I'm walking the track as usual, you know what I'm saying? That was my routine. I walk the track, you know what I'm saying? Maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe the whole yard period. So he come out to the track, you know what I'm saying? He talking to me. He's like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? My people, you know what I'm saying, can get you on with some stuff, you know what I'm saying? But they go, you know what I'm saying, won't, you know what I'm saying, a little, you know what I'm saying, beginner's fee before they start doing whatever they're doing. I'm like, a beginner's fee, you know what I'm saying? What you mean a beginner's fee? He was telling me that because they his people, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, that, you know what I'm saying, they had to, you know what I'm saying, give me a beginner's fee because, you know what I'm saying, they wanted to make sure that, you know, just because I was black or whatever, that everything was going to be up to par, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, man, beginner's fee, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, that sounded kind of funny, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't really, you know what I'm saying, trip about it. So I told him, you know what I'm saying, what's the beginner fee? He's like, you know what I'm saying, a 50. So I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying. So I had my wife, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, send me the $50, you know what I'm saying. Boom, they get the money, you know what I'm saying, so everything is cool. So in the penitentiary, how we deal with things, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, we have cash, you know what I'm saying, in the penitentiary. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, we just mail it to you and things like that. We didn't have Cash App and all that stuff back then to where, you know what I'm saying, it'd be easy for people to get money and stuff like that. So we had to network it a different way. Either have somebody bring the money in on visit or have somebody, you know what I'm saying, send it to your people. You call your people or you write it in a letter, you know what I'm saying, you send it out, boom, they get it, they send it, you know. So everything went well, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. So then, like a couple days later, you know what I'm saying, he come back to me, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like, you know what I'm saying, making sure that the money was going to be sent and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, it's all going to be, you know what I'm saying, done and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Just give me a few days, you know what I'm saying, for my people, you know what I'm saying, to get the message, you know what I'm saying, and then for them to do what they have to do. So, like I said, you know, boom, next day go by, probably a week go by, you know what I'm saying? Boom, the money finally hit, you know what I'm saying? So everything is on the go, you know what I'm saying? So, uh, boom, I get the stuff, you know what I'm saying? I tell them, you know what I'm saying? Because I sent them the 50 ball and I sent, you know what I'm saying, the money for the stuff at the same time. So the stuff finally come in, you know what I'm saying? I come to the yard, you know what I'm saying, to get it, you know, boom. Like I said, you know, at this time, you know what I'm saying, we had shower bags and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, where if you go out to the yard, you know what I'm saying, you can take your shower, you know what I'm saying, on the yard. or you can take your shower, you know what I'm saying, when you get back in, but you have to make sure that you take your bag. Sometimes when you go through the gate, you know what I'm saying, the police want to shake your bag down. I mean, that's just something that you have to be, you know what I'm saying, ready for, you know what I'm saying, there ain't nothing that you can do about it. So I come to the yard, boom. He tell me, hey man, you know what I'm saying, come over here, you know what I'm saying, to the bathroom. So I come to the bathroom. He give me, you know what I'm saying, the stuff, you know what I'm saying. I put, you know what I'm saying, I think it was like 40 things of tobacco, you know what I'm saying, in the thing. So I get them, I wrap them up in my towel, you know what I'm saying, to where it ain't sealable. Boom, pull the thing tight, you know what I'm saying. Now I'm waiting on early yard, you know what I'm saying, so I can just go ahead and go back to my cell and do my thing. So uh, we get there, you know what I'm saying. I get to the early yard, boom, I go out there, I'm nervous and shit, you know what I'm saying. I just walk out. Like I said, I'm young, I already know that the police, you know what I'm saying, like to fuck with young people. So I come out the thing, boom, come through the metal detector, it didn't go off, you know what I'm saying. I keep on going. I was like, I got by the first one. Now, you know what I'm saying, in the middle of the middle of the thing, it's it's like a guard tower, you know what I'm saying? That's where all the black suits be hanging out in from. It's like, you know what I'm saying, they little hangout, you know. Then you go up there and then you make a right or a left and go to your unit. So I come out that thing, boom, I come up, boom, I'm looking to see if any black suits is out there, you know what I'm saying? They the ones, you know what I'm saying, do all the major shakedowns, you know what I'm saying, with the dogs and all that stuff to come through, make sure that you ain't got no knives, make sure that you know what I'm saying, that you're doing everything, you know what I'm saying, up to par, make sure you ain't got no type of dangerous contraband or anything like that in there. So I come in there, you know what I'm saying, coming out, boom, I don't see nobody. I put my step in my pep, get back to my motherfucking cell, you know what I'm saying, hurry up and walk in there, you know what I'm saying, hoping that ain't nobody. Everything's a free go. At this time, the way that I was doing it was, I mean, it might sound crazy, you know what I'm saying, but I hide them, you know what I'm saying, in the ice cooler. You know what I'm saying? The ice chest, you know what I'm saying? I pull all the ice back, you know what I'm saying, on the side, and I push everything at the bottom of it, and I pour everything ice on top of it, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm only going to use it, you know what I'm saying, maybe 2 or 3 days, you know what I'm saying? So it'll be fast, you know, because like I said, you get the autumn packs, you know what I'm saying? That shit goes so motherfucking fast, you know what I'm saying? You won't even know that you sold all that stuff because people in your dorm, you know what I'm saying? They might buy 20 of them, you know what I'm saying? People on the compound, you know what I'm saying, might buy the rest of them, you know what I'm saying? It's just about how you put the word out and how you know what I'm saying, move. And like I said, you know what I'm saying, messing with him, I knew everybody, you know what I'm saying, that sold it in bulk. So I kind of messed with them, you know what I'm saying, on the side, you know what I'm saying, messed with a few other people that I got, you know what I'm saying, doing my thing with me. So when I knocking all that stuff off, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing my thing, you know, boom, boom, boom. Next day, you know what I'm saying, it was going down, you know what I'm saying. The first day, everybody in the pod getting their stuff, you know what I'm saying. The next day, I'm going out now, hitting other pods doing their thing. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know what I'm saying. Breakfast, I come put all my orders in. Lunch, you know what I'm saying, I come and bring some. Dinner, you know what I'm saying, I bring some. Yard, I bring some. You know what I'm saying, if we got some type of activity or whatever, like church or, you know what I'm saying, a Muslim service or substance abuse or anything, you know what I'm saying, library, thing that you can float around the people. You use this, you know what I'm saying, as your yard time to float around to all these places to take care of all your business. And you can walk in inside, outside the door, you know what I'm saying, at this time, you know what I'm saying, while the yard is going on because it's not, you know, locked down like that. You can do movements, you know what I'm saying? You just can't go back in and out your cell, but you can go, you know, like I said, once you get on the yard, you can move around all the compounds. So you just bring everything, you know what I'm saying, that you got at that time, and so that way you can move around. So I'm doing my thing, you know what I'm saying? He doing his thing, you know. We ain't tripping, he ain't tripping. And then one day, you know what I'm saying, I'm sitting there, uh, in the chow hall doing my thing, you know, eating, you know what I'm saying. He come up to me, he's like, hey, Fast Man, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with you? He was like, man, my boy, you know what I'm saying, kind of burnt me, you know what I'm saying, on some stuff, man. And I'm gonna need, you know what I'm saying, you to kind of help me, you know what I'm saying, do my thing again, you know what I'm saying, send the money and stuff like that. So I was like, man, at this time, like I said, I was hooked up with the ABs, you know what I'm saying? So I'm getting my shit in, you know what I'm saying? I'm paying, you know, how it go, you know, I'm doing my thing, you know, I don't really need him no more, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey man, I don't know, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, he know about me now. He know that I'm moving stuff too, because once I got, you know what I'm saying, hooked up with them and I made, you know what I'm saying, that first payment, you know what I'm saying, to get in, shit, it was all gravy after that. They was bringing that shit in, you know what I'm saying, on a consistent basis. Because you got to understand, the Aryan Brotherhood is the only people in prison that can control the guards, you know what I'm saying, the way that nobody else can control. Because once they know that you AB, they gon', you know what I'm saying, have your back on 100%. You know what I'm saying, opening doors, you know what I'm saying, getting shanked, you know what I'm saying, doing all type of other crazy stuff when it comes to the drugs and all that stuff. So I was tied in with him, so I was like, shit, I ain't gonna mess up that, you know what I'm saying? Because I already knew what type of person he was. He was a bully type of person. And if he knew that, you know what I'm saying, I get in with them, you know what I'm saying, then it would have messed up everything, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, some people mess with me, some people mess with him, some people didn't like, you know what I'm saying, dealing with him. They like dealing with me, you know what I'm saying, when it came to that stuff. So it was like a unbalanced, you know what I'm saying, situation. So uh, I'm sitting up here, you know what I'm saying, telling him, hey man, you know what I'm saying, I don't know if we can do this and we can do that. So he's like, oh man, you know what I'm saying, you gonna do me like that, you know what I'm saying, after all the stuff that we went through. I'm saying, dang, you know what I'm saying, but the way that you played me, you know what I'm saying, how do you expect for me to feel, you know what I'm saying? You cut me off, you know what I'm saying, you don't even say anything, you don't even say, hey man, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna do this for you, I'm gonna do this for you. You got your shit, you know what I'm saying? I gave you my shit. And then you just left, you know what I'm saying? You never even, you know what I'm saying, acknowledged that, man, you was cool. We just did business here and there, you know what I'm saying? If you ran out and you needed something till you got on with something, I gave you something, you know what I'm saying, so that you could smoke, same way that you did for me. I mean, we did everything, you know what I'm saying, basically, you know what I'm saying, for each other. So, you know, I don't see where, you know what I'm saying, where all the conflict is coming in that, you know what I'm saying, like I'm trying to do you wrong or anything. Like I just don't want to do business like that, you know what I'm saying? If we're gonna do business, we're gonna do business 100% versus doing business, you know what I'm saying, sideways. So boom, he walk off from the table, you know what I'm saying? I see that he was mad, you know what I'm saying? But at this time, like I said, I'm doing my thing, you know what I'm saying, handling my people, you know what I'm saying, keeping everything going. So boom, couple days later, you know what I'm saying, he come out to the yard, man, on the yard, like I say, walking the track. So he come up to the yard. He's like, hey man, you know what I'm saying, that's some bullshit, you know what I'm saying? I got like $600, you know what I'm saying, out here. You know what I'm saying? I can't even, you know what I'm saying, get the people, you know what I'm saying, the money because, you know what I'm saying, it's stuck somewhere. And the dude, you know what I'm saying, that they got the money, you know what I'm saying, he played me, so I might end up having to whoop him or have somebody whoop him, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, shit, I'm saying to myself, while we walking, shit, that's your problem, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to, you know what I'm saying, love your people on the street the way that you love them in the penitentiary. That way, you know what I'm saying, when you get caught up in the situation or whatever, they got your back versus, you know what I'm saying, burning all your bridges to where when you're in the penitentiary, now you ain't got nobody to kind of help you. You know what I'm saying? Dude, so this is the mindset that I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, all right, man, you know, so after that, you know what I'm saying, we walk off, you know what I'm saying, he come back, you know what I'm saying, like a couple of days later. I mean, he's on me because, you know what I'm saying, he ain't getting none of his money, ain't nothing coming in. He know that I'm doing this, he know that, you know what I'm saying, he see, you know what I'm saying, that I'm doing it. So one day, you know what I'm saying, we in the pods, you know what I'm saying, in the bar through smoking. So he's like, hey man, you know what I'm saying, uh, what's up with you and such and such and such and such and such. I'm like, what you mean? Now he's catching on, you know what I'm saying, that I mess with the ABs, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh man, you know what I'm saying, nothing, I'm just doing my thing. He's like, yeah, they telling me, you know what I'm saying, that you messing with them and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying, I'm kind of, you know what I'm saying, tired in with him doing this and doing that. He's like, hey man, that's fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Now he's getting mad at me because, you know what I'm saying, the tables just turned. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know what I'm saying, the way that I came in the penitentiary, you know what I'm saying, he had my back and stuff like that. Now it's gonna be the other way around, you know what I'm saying? So we like, oh man, you know what I'm saying, we talking and trying to get everything, you know what I'm saying, straight and stuff like that. So then, you know, we didn't end up fighting or anything like that, but we got on the real bad, you know what I'm saying, no talking terms, you know what I'm saying, until like the last couple weeks before I got out of jail. Cause you know what I'm saying, like I said, you know, I only had like a 30 piece, you know what I'm saying, 30 ball. I only had 30 months to do. So, you know what I'm saying, the last couple weeks, you know what I'm saying, boom, we start talking, you know what I'm saying. Then he wanted me, you know what I'm saying, to help him out, you know what I'm saying, once I got out, you know, to start, you know what I'm saying, doing that, which I did, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, turned them on to the people, you know what I'm saying, was going to drop it off the places where they wanted me to do it at, you know. But the moral of the story is, you know what I'm saying, just because you come to the penitentiary doesn't necessarily mean that the people that you hanging out with are your friends. There ain't no such thing as a friend in the penitentiary. There ain't no such thing as, you know what I'm saying, me and him cool, me and him Ace Boom Coons, you know what I'm saying? That's my partner, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all might be from the same set, y'all might be from the same religious background, y'all might be from the same, you know, so civilized, you know what I'm saying, community or whatever. But in reality, ain't nobody your friend in the penitentiary. Everybody is out to try to get you. They look for your weaknesses, and then the next thing you know what I'm saying, they try to, you know, make sure that they get you in a situation to where you don't find yourself, you know, in a negative situation. That's all, man. I mean, the penitentiary is crazy. Your friends can be your foes, you know what I'm saying? And your foes can be your friends. It's just crazy how things can be, you know what I'm saying, once you start doing your time and start hanging out with people. I mean, and you know what I'm saying, we was moving that stuff, you know what I'm saying? We was moving all type of other stuff too as well. But you know what I'm saying, that was the main thing that we was moving, you know, was tobacco. But you know what I'm saying, the drugs and all that stuff that came in the same play as the tobacco. The same way you get the tobacco in is the same way that you get your drugs in there. So you have to just keep in mind that when you moving those stuff like that, you have to be, you know what I'm saying, on your toes at all times. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, once you start moving, you know what I'm saying, around the penitentiary and start getting involved in things like that, I mean, people start looking at you. They start looking at you like, hey, man, you know what I'm saying, what this dude doing? You know, you could be a positive influence on people, or you could be a negative influence on people when you're dealing with drugs and tobacco. I mean, they both the same. So when you go to the penitentiary, just make sure that you stay, you know what I'm saying, aware of your surroundings. You know what I'm saying, you stay away from the drugs, you stay away from the tobacco, you stay away from all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, that can get you caught up. Because me and that dude could end up easily, you know what I'm saying, fighting and things like that. But like I said, you know what I'm saying, once you build up a reputation in the penitentiary of a positive person, it's kind of hard for a negative person, you know what I'm saying, to knock you down, because you got so many people is willing to be on your side to make sure that you know what I'm saying, you keep, you know what I'm saying, whatever thing that you're doing, you keep it straight. You know, most people don't understand that when you go to the penitentiary, that the people that you hang around with are the same people that could poke you in your back, you know. So every time that you walk and every time that you do this and every time that you do that, you know what I'm saying, you have to realize, you know what I'm saying, that, you know what I'm saying, the people that you hanging around with are the people, you know what I'm saying, that's either going to build you or they're going to either ones that's going to break you down. So before you do anything, you know what I'm saying, keep to yourself, make sure that you don't go to the penitentiary, because that's the only way that's going to keep you about these situations to where, you know what I'm saying, your friends in the penitentiary could be your foes, you know what I'm saying, because most of the time, like I said, you know what I'm saying, the people in the penitentiary are out to try to get you. So if you think like that, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get through it. You got to think like everybody's out there trying to get you versus everybody's trying to be your friend. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's out to try to get you, to make sure that you fall, to make sure that you do this, to make sure that you do that. I mean, everything, you know what I'm saying, that you do in society, you know what I'm saying? You have to understand that once you get to the penitentiary, it's the same thing. I mean, motherfuckers robbing, motherfuckers killing, motherfuckers doing this. Everybody's doing this and this. Everybody's using drugs. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's smoking cigarettes. Everybody's drinking. The same things that goes on the street, or the same things that goes on, you know, in the hood, you know. So you always have to be aware, you know what I'm saying, of your surroundings. And when it comes to your friends in the penitentiary, because your friends could be your foes, you know what I'm saying? And you have to understand that. So keep it real and stay up, and y'all stay tuned, and y'all keep on watching this video. Thanks.